we're happy to show you 2 brand new sets from 2 of our favorite designers.
Dee's Distinctively and Stampendous, and there's something unique about each of these.
Something very unique, and we're happy to share it. Come play with us. Well, here are the 2 collections. So the ones on top are from Fran Seifert at Stampendous, and we're going to do that second, right? So we're going to scoot these over.
Scoot those off to
and
the
we're
side.
Going to start with Dee's, and this is a collection of 4. Now, you can use them together as we've done. You can certainly use them separately, as we will show you also.
Right, but what we have here is Tree Base 1, Tree Base 2, Tree Toppers, and Gloria's Swan.
And I don't know who Gloria is.
I don't either, but she certainly has a beautiful swan.
Yeah.
They make really interesting projects. And the one that you're seeing here on the left, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing the tree here and here. And this one has all of these clusters that you place onto those die-cut trees.
And here is a beauty that you can do using, now this is using all of them, isn't it?
That's using every one of those. So you're seeing Tree Base 1 right here. There's the outline, you're seeing it in the background.
So it's a taller,
So it's a
skinnier.
taller and thinner, and then you have a wider tree, that's number 2. Then of course all of these clusters that are used, and each one of these are shaped. And then you have that beautiful glorious swan.
Now, to show you what products were used, I'm sure that you can figure this out, but in addition to the cutting dies, the background here is the smoke suede. So that's what this is, and then the swan and the trees are cut out of the black suede.
Right, and I love that you can actually ink suede as well. So that's got stays on ink around the edge, so you get that sort of 3D effect. And we've done the same thing on these mounds of leaves here, and that's done with the textured iridescent sheets.
Yes, so this is my absolute, I just think this is wonderful stuff. There are 10 sheets, and they're a little over 8.5 by 11, but they do allow you to do die cutting, embossing, and shaping, which I didn't know.
And they are, they're easy to cut with a cutting die. These are not like highly plasticized. Sometimes it's kind of hard to cut through a plastic, but these are super easy to cut and shape because they are that paper.
And they're gorgeous.
They are. And the way that you shape those is you have like a foam mat. You can use a mouse pad or a foam pad, and you're going to use the shaping tools, which I have here, and we sell these on Paper Wishes, and they have all of these different little implements with different size styluses down on the bottom. Larger stylus for a larger piece of paper, and even the tiniest, and pair of reverse tweezers there. But I also have the pieces from the Swan sitting here. So you can see all of these different colors that were used. So here's the black suede, and the tail, you can cut it in several different, or the plumes, which would end up being the tail and the wings, cut them out of several different iridescent sheets. You place one on that pad here like this, and you can just start shaping them. And let's do one of the iridescent sheets and get one of the larger styluses. And I usually just start around the edges and press down. And I like to start around around the center or the edge. You just make sure you're moving back and forth to get all the way along that edge, and you can just sort of keep going around. And
it always surprises me when you start with that very large one, because I would think that this is not terribly narrow. I mean, it's not real thin, but it isn't real chunky either.
Well, for me personally, I feel like if I get something too small, let me get something much smaller.
Something too small.
If I get, well, I consider it too small.
Yeah.
If it's a large edge, I want this to be rounded all the way around. If I start pressing with this tiny thing, it's going to leave a crease. Which I can keep smoothing them out, but look, see what it does is it only works on the very edge.
Yeah, and that's really taking too much time.
Right.
I mean,
so it's just much faster to just get that larger and just go around kind of quickly. And there, when you turn it over and it doesn't disappear, you've got this great curled piece.
Right.
Now, I could have used the smaller end on this piece, and I would have, to get that part done, but to get this overall. And then I took black stays on and inked the edges just a little bit to get a little bit of a nice 3D edging on
Now
there.
it looks like in the cutting die, it does a score line in the center of that plume.
It does. That's embossed. So it'll emboss that edge right in the center. It does that with each of them. There are 2 different plumes, this one and this one.
Okay.
And you do several of them. You start stacking them on top of each other. I also layered them with the black suede, and it makes kind of a nice little shadow effect behind them.
Ah.
So that's kind of a neat look. You know, when you look at these, there's kind of something else that you were talking about, that these would be great to make corner flourishes on a card.
Well, I think they would, and maybe if we pretend this is a card and
Okay.
get that black one out of
All
there.
right.
And just kind of showing
Sort of
that,
play with it a little bit.
yeah, they could go like that.
You could put them in a corner like that, just for a little accent.
Or just individually.
You can individually,
too.
you could do one, you could do it like that. You could put them, let's see, if I turn them over and did them this way,
Right.
you could sort of underline something if you were using the
Yeah.
same thing.
So I think
just
there's
kinda-
some use of those
Sure.
outside. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's good.
Outside of the Swan,
Right.
even though it comes as part of the Swan. So that's neat.
So that's our Swan card.
Okay, and that's also what you did with the
With the
tops
tree,
of the
yeah,
trees.
the clumps of the flower of the leaves. So I shaped all of those. I shaped the swan as well, and I actually cut a second swan out of the some of the textured iridescent sheets. I inked it black and cut off just the tip and placed it on the swan so that there was a shiny beak on there.
That's a nice, and the blue there just kind of showing a water as we've got the swan resting, and the different shades of green going into the tree toppers. This is stunning, and it's stunning, well, it's stunning number one, but it's also stunning because of the play between the suede, which is just a super saturated color, and it's a flat color,
Right.
and then the iridescence of the paper.
That
So
super
just
shine,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Yes.
And it really sets it up above, and that's like that nice shadow of the trees behind. Yeah, I like that too.
It's just beautiful. And then we have some
These are the-
dazzles.
yeah, I think these are the petite dazzles.
Okay, just gorgeous. And we don't have an inside of this card, but certainly the outside is stunning enough. The other thing that's nice about this is this would be a beautiful sympathy card. It could go masculine, it could go feminine.
You can do different things with it. Make
Yeah.
sure that these are foam taped up. Some of these
Oh,
are
okay.
going to sit up a little higher. If you get enough curve on there, you're going to have a double layer of foam tape so that it won't get squished down.
Okay, beautiful. Now there we have in the iridescent, just gorgeous. Here are the same swans used on a center step card, and let me pop this up so you can see it resting, moving forward as that one does.
And it just, the plumes on this, the wings, they just look to me like metal. And it's because they've been embossed with fine detail silver embossing powder.
Oh, so they were, okay.
Those are embossed, yeah,
Oh,
with embossing powder. So you just
beautiful.
cut them from paper, and the same with the trees behind. You Versamark them and emboss them, and I can show you a little bit how to do that.
I
but
like the swans going together, forming
Right.
that heart. How clever.
Great idea.
I love that these are going out. This is just those silvery branches
Yeah,
are beautiful.
It's wintry sort of, but not.
Yeah.
It's also just sort of an ethereal look back there.
It is gorgeous.
Just
gorgeous.
beautiful. So I have that tree that we're looking at is this one. This is tree base number 1, and if we haven't turned them over yet, these are what the dies look like. They are metal.
There's more down here.
There's more, yeah, hidden behind there. The whole tree goes down here. But here's the cutting side, and when you cut it, you're going to get a tree that looks something like this, or exactly like that. And then if you want to turn that into one of those gilded trees that you see there, then you're going to Versamark it and add some silver. I just want to show you what you do when you do emboss this, and I hope you can, fingers, come on. Hope you can see this when I sit on there. It just barely. I'm just going to hold that down and Versamark the whole thing, just like this. And what Susan said was that once you do this, once you emboss it and you heat it and everything, if you feel like there's not enough coverage, go ahead and put a second layer of the powder on there, and it'll really get a nice melted, beautiful image. And then you're just going to, I've got another piece here ready for the embossing powder, and you're going to just sprinkle it with the embossing powder. I'm not going to heat it and show you that part because you all know I think everybody knows how to use a heat gun and emboss that on there. It's kind of fun to watch it happen anyway. But one thing I am going to show you is how to hold on to this when you are embossing it. And I'll put that away in a moment, but go ahead and shake it off. You want as much. See, I don't want to, here, I'm going to use the tweezers right away. I don't want to take off a lot of that embossing powder. So I have reverse tweezers. You can use regular tweezers as well. And just sort of tap it off as much as you can tap off. And then I'm going to place it over here. And then I would hold on to it with the tweezers while I was embossing it with the heat gun. That way you're not going to get hurt. And then there might be a little spot there, but afterwards you can let go. You can re-emboss that area, hold on to it somewhere else, and just get that little spot that got missed. So that's the way you do that without burning your fingers.
Right, and a heat gun gets to over 300 degrees.
Right.
So you don't want to mess around with that.
And small things like that will tend to blow away with the heat gun, so you really have to hold on to them.
So just a beautiful card here. Again, this could go in lots of different themes, so I appreciate that. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now you can also do something else, and we have this card. So
something a little easier.
Yeah. And this is again using the tall one. Now this was using the tree number 2.
Tree number 2 and the swan. So you can see that wider tree there and the swan. The one you're looking at here is just using the tree base. Now you see we've only seen one that was actually using the tree toppers. Any of these you could put the tree toppers on there as well. It's just kind of neat to see them used with and without. This one I think it's great because it is so simple, but it makes such a statement. It's so striking. And there's a real simple way to accomplish that. You go ahead and die cut your tree out of there, and you want to save this because you're going to see that in a moment.
On the inside of the card.
But now that I've die cut that out of this piece of white cardstock, I have a stencil.
Right.
And then I can use that stencil. I can get out my black Stays-On.
Or memento.
Or memento, or you know, any color that you want. I personally like the black and white look, but there we go. But I like to use Stays-On a lot. It's just kind of a nice smooth. There's also a black in the surfaces line that you could use. So this could, I'm doing this on white cardstock, but you could do this on lots of other specialty papers. You could use it on holographic or anything else. And what I did when I made this cluster of trees, I'm going to try to stay on here so that they don't go off this piece of cardstock. I made the tree in the center of the cluster darker than the other trees. And so that was kind of the foreground tree, and you can do a couple of other trees off to the side, and they're going to be a little lighter. But really, that's the extent. I want to make sure I get all the way up to the tops of those branches. And when I lift it, there's this beautiful tree.
Yes.
And then you just position it off to the left, maybe up a little bit. Do another one, and like I say, when I do this one, I just do it a little bit lighter. I'm not
so
gonna
you use
do
the same black color, but just didn't put as much on it.
Right, and so then you can just get a shadowed edge.
And I like how the interplay of the branches plays
together, right?
Yeah, just gorgeous.
I could see doing that all the way across a 12-inch wide piece of paper for a background on a scrapbooking page.
Be beautiful.
That would be gorgeous.
Keeping you in my heart, there are some Dazzles. These are the everyday greetings.
No, these are the inside-outside Dazzles, actually. The newer, it is in a 3-pack, so you get them in black and pearl, gold pearl and silver pearl.
So the thing is, keeping you in my heart is for the front of the card. Sincere sympathy is in the back, and there is the piece that you.
There we go. Save those pieces, just a couple of them, and it's just beautiful. Very, right, those Dazzles are from the same set. I love that. They got the white and the black. I said pearl. Now I can't remember. I think the third one in the set is a gold, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that the inside outside we have black, we have the white, and we have a gold.
Probably so.
Yeah, in that.
And then just some of the jute twine to go along the folds. So
right. There's a jute twine pack that has 12 colors, and so you can use a couple of. So simple. Super simple, and that's just with one of the dies. Right.
Okay, let's bring Fran's designs in.
Okay.
Can you pull those?
Yep. here we come.
And
The Stampendous.
here we are.
And they are Stampendous.
Now, I do have to tell you something, that they are running a little low on this product. We will have more later, but it is not in the bundle for today. We've just put
For that
the
reason,
4 of
right.
these together. And that's really unusual for Stampendous, but that's the fact. And I actually saw Fran demonstrating this at the CHA
Really?
trade show. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it is a set of different things. There is this base piece that is very unique in that it's got a series of cutting dies.
And I can show you how we do that if you want to wait till we look at a card to do that.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that. So it's going to create a pop-up set. There's information on the back. There's a little flyer on the inside of it.
Oh,
of the
great
package.
instructions on there. This
Is it-
actually opens up. This shows you a little bit about it, but when you open it up, it has very detailed instructions on just how to do this.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's going to create the pop-up mechanism.
Right.
And then this set of cutting dies coordinates with the stamp set, so it's giving us several options, as you can see.
Right, and I think they call these building a bouquet.
Okay.
Or building a bouquet or building a vase, something like that, right?
And so there's 2 cutting dies, and then this stamp set also has a stencil to go with it.
Right,
And
which we didn't use here, but those are really useful. If you want to ink in some of the images and you don't want to get anything around it, then you pop out the stencil. You either use this as a mask over the stamped image that you created, or you can use the stencil area and ink within the stencil.
create kind of a background.
Sure.
So another set of goodies that goes together. So let's bring in a card so we can see
Okay.
how these all come
Yes.
together. And this is a narrow card. You can see it saying hi on the front. And the magic is in the inside. So as I open this up, you're going to see that bouquet pop up, as well as this really pretty doily under it. And I think that's nice. And actually, I think this is a part of which that Fran made at the show. So
okay.
you can see that these, let me turn them on the side. There are these little tabs.
Yeah, and I can
that-
show you this in more detail that
good.
are going to hold up each one of these at a different level, you notice, so that some of them stay close to the paper, some of them pop out further away. It really gives a three-dimensional effect for that vase.
Very, very fun, very fun.
I love how this one was colored in. I believe that was
Yeah.
with the watercolor pencils, or maybe it was the blendable pencils even. And you can check the gallery, make sure that
You're gonna show the steps,
Right.
okay?
The steps are, we start with cardstock, and it does tell you on the instructions how to cut the cardstock and the sizes. It starts with an 8.5 by 11-inch panel. Then they have you cut it in half so that you have, one of them is going to end up being a 4-inch by 10 3/4 panel. This will be the inside panel. One of them will be a 4 1/4 by 11-inch panel, and that will be the outside. So this is going to be a little bit bigger than this, so that when you're all done, you've got this nice mat.
And that's what we have here. Same
Right,
thing, same
right,
deal.
something
Okay.
like that. Then you're going to score this one in the center. This is going to be scored right in the center. It's ready to fold, so that'll be on the outside. This one, you're not going to score, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. You fold this in half. So I'm going to bring those edges together up at the top. And you don't press it all the way across. You just sort of pinch it on the right and on the left. You don't want a score line in the center because that's going to be used for a pop-up area, and you'll see that in a minute. I went ahead and marked it with a pencil so that I could see it here for what I was doing. Then you get those great cutting dies. The one we're going to use is this nice big one in the center. So we've got that centerpiece. And on this cutting die, the areas that are going to cut are all up here. Some of them cut, some of them are just embossing lines. I can feel them. These are a little bit lower. These are the embossed areas, so they're going to create a scored line. And these are the cut areas to cut out that tab. And then they're going to be cuts and embossed lines, here's score lines down here. I'm going to place that with the cutting side down on the paper, line up right with these little edges, going to line it up in the center of this piece. And then I would run it through my die cutting machine just like that.
Okay.
I would put a couple of pieces of stencil tape, probably one here and one here, to make sure that it doesn't move. Once you run it through your machine, oh, before I do that, I also chose on this one to put this for a decorative edge down at the bottom.
Now there are a couple of decorative edges, aren't there?
There are 3 of them. So 1, 2, 3, so you can cut this with any of those. I just thought for this one would be kind of interesting. A separate piece was cut on the card that you saw and placed up here later. But I went ahead and put it on this one so that once I was done cutting it, this is how it looks. So I've got this piece that was cut on the bottom. There's that where we pinched and we placed that cutting die. It created scored lines right there, ready for folding. It didn't score right in the center because this one's going to be pocked up. So you're going to pull this up, and you're going to pull these up, and this piece pops out, and this comes up like that. So that even after you fold it, and that probably the good way to do it, you really have to kind of push that in to get that folded correctly. It's going to fold down flat like that when it's within the card.
So you can see it's creating an easel there.
Right, so you can see.
And then those tabs.
Those tabs, each one of them are going to pop up like so, and then fold down. Each one of them have these 2 scored lines, so they pop up and they fold down. And this is where you're going to glue the pieces for the flowers and the vase. I'm going to set that aside just for a second so I can show you. When you start with the pieces that you want to put on there, you have to stamp them first. They do have to be, I mean, it's a stamp and die set. This particular set, you have to stamp them first because the cutting dies for these are made such that you can see right through them and see where to place it. So I stamped 3 of these, 2 leaves, a daisy, and a vase. And when you're ready, I would probably cut these a little bit more separate when I put the cutting die on there. You can see right through the cutting die, so you can see how to line that on there, up there. You get a little bit of that black all the way around. And that lines it up nicely. I'd probably tape that in a couple places, go ahead and run it through the die cutting machine. And there are the cutting dies for each one of these pieces. So when you get them all die cut out, then you have all of these pieces.
Just like that.
Just like that. So these are all the pieces that are going to be glued onto these little stair steps. So you're going to glue this piece right there, and that's going to stand up in front. You're going to glue these pieces on each one of these, and then you have all of these. And you
can twist them and turn them and layer them.
You can sort of play with them a little. Once they're all glued in place, you take the entire piece. I would always start with the top and glue the top in place first. Center it, make sure that the folds are matching up there, and go ahead and glue the top down, and you've got all these pieces will be on there, and then glue the bottom down.
That's pretty down there.
Yeah. That's I thought that was a unique look.
One other thing too, Fran told me, is that she left a little slit right there just in case your flowers had stems. So because you can use different cutting dies, different stamps with the same set.
Or you could even use these and then put, I don't know, little strips of paper going right to them from the flowers. Oh, let's grab a flower. From the flowers down to that vase. I thought that was really neat idea. In fact, you could just leave that as the vase and do it.
So here it is with the flowers overlapping the vase, and with a separate piece put to be kind of a doily underneath the jar.
Which I think is a great look.
So very neat. And one other thing you could do is, because this is meant to be a see-through jar, as you can see through into the stems, is that you could cover that with glossy accents or crystal lacquer to get that shine and a little bit of a dimension to it.
You can add some wink of Stella to add a little more shine too. That would work great.
And you're going to bring those in.
Right, because did you notice on the dies there are also a little set of small ovals and small labels, and you can cut out all sorts of shapes for those. So here's an inner and an outer piece. They have the matted pieces
And here
for
is
the
that
labels.
straight little
Right.
decorative piece
Use
on
it
the
on
front.
different pieces of paper. You get different sorts of edging.
So I can see why they call it a building set, because there are
Right.
just so many different things you
Right.
can do with that
Build a
one.
bouquet set.
Build a
That's what
bouquet.
they called it.
Now, another way to use it is in this card, and in this case, just taken a single flower out of the stamp set. Well, actually, maybe you want to bring it in?
Right. So you saw we saw, I think we were calling them, they're either hydrangeas or forget-me-nots or something like that. There's a daisy, and then there's this cluster of roses. And there's two vases. This one, I love this one that says hello on it, and then this round one with the pebbles down at the bottom.
And these, of course, all match the cutting dies.
Right.
But here is
There's
that,
cutting die.
just taking one of the roses
Right.
and the leaves, and then opening this up, and we have a whole bouquet of roses.
So
with that circular one.
to point out, in order to get one single rose, the whole rose was stamped, and then just one of them was cut out to be on the
Right.
front. But I love this piece here, right in the middle, and this would be glued on. First, it would be, the edges would be die cut with that border cutting die on both the top and the bottom, then glued onto this pink paper, and then you go through the process of using that central cutting
Oh,
die.
okay.
The same one is used here to get all of those little tabs to sit up in the back.
And there are the ovals that
There,
were
right.
part of it. So
The
there's a
oval
lot
frame
of
cutting
pieces
die.
in that.
Right.
And again, but you get this pop-up effect, which is very fun.
Right.
And we
This-
had a little butterfly.
We do. I love the
Yeah.
little butterfly. These were colored in with the Spectrum Noir pen. No, I think these were the watercolor pencils. I got a little confused.
Look in the gallery.
Please look in the gallery. But look, you could color them in with anything. You could use Spectrum Noir pens, the blendable pencils,
Certainly.
the new aqua pens that you'll be
We
seeing.
have, yes,
Right.
we have lots of options.
Right,
So
and these are definitely the everyday greeting stickers. That's
Very
also a
good.
3-pack.
There you go. So that's going to look like that. So you have lots of choices.
Lots
and,
of options, lots of different cutting dies.
And what I appreciate is that with each of these sets, we're frantically getting them.
Right.
I don't know where D's are. Is that you have options. They are not a one-trick pony, so that's
Right.
really kind of nice.
There we go.
And
D's
thank
cutting
you,
dies.
thank you, Fran, and thank you,
Thank
Dee,
you, Dee.
and thank you, Gail.
Have fun.